So we are so close to watching The Last Jedi now, and we are absolutely excited, but we thought we would re-review The Force Awakens because it has been 2 years since we reviewed it, and that review is kind of
buried under everything else.
Exactly.
It's hidden, and we want to talk about this movie again. So let's do it. So who talks first? You talk first, I talk first? I made a Star Wars joke! Haha!
So The Force Awakens is set 30 years after Episode 6. That's all you really got to know. Everyone's already seen it. It doesn't matter. It's directed by J.J. Abrams, and it's an exciting reboot, re-franchise, re-everything by Disney. Now, this film will always hold a massive place in my heart, and probably yours as well, because this is the first time we ever got to really experience a Star Wars film in a theater, because we were, what, 19 when we watched it for the first time, and of course we had the prequels and stuff, but we were young and naive, and we didn't know what we were thinking when we said we loved them.
Let's be really clear about this. There is pretty much zero love for the prequels in hindsight now. They were fun as a kid. I can still kind of get some enjoyment out of watching them. But as movies, they're not good.
So that set in place a very difficult situation for Disney to come in and reboot Star Wars, because they had prequels that were a little bit wobbly, and they had an original trilogy that was obviously just life-changing for so many people.
Yeah, mostly good. Mostly good. There's still parts of that we're not going to say the Star Wars movies across the board are perfect, but there's something about them that just got people excited, and that's why so many years down the track, people are still, like, Star Wars is the biggest pop culture phenomenon on Earth, I'd say, and it is because those initial films did something for people that really worked. So Disney essentially had to make a film that catered to the fans of the original films, while also maintaining something that worked in the prequels for the people that grew up with them. Balancing a film like, I don't think there has ever been a blockbuster made that was more of a challenge to pull this off. And we are both strong believers of the fact that they did. This is not a perfect movie, but everything about this movie makes it, I think, one of the best blockbusters we have really ever seen. And I have no guilt in saying that, because not only is this film technically flawless and just absolutely magically well made, it is beautifully acted, and it does, as much as people want to deny that it does not, it completely understands what made us fall in love with Star Wars in the first place. And yes, it borrows elements from the initial Star Wars film, the original. But I think as film fans, as all these people involved in making this movie everyone that is involved here loves Star Wars. They've taken that and used that to basically reset an entire thing that had gone quite wrong just 10 years before. They actually managed to make a film that, as much as it may seem like out there most people seem to hate now, most people don't. Most people have a really, really fond outlook on this movie. But
I also think it's really important to state the fact that, like, we're so lucky to have The Force Awakens and for it to exist the way it does and exist with the people that were involved in it as well. Like, to have Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford all still be performing in the film, to have John Williams return to score the film. I think we should just feel really lucky that it even exists.
And now getting into really talking about the film itself, I think the thing that we've maintained as many times as we've seen this, I've seen this movie a lot of times, we saw it 5 times I believe in the cinema, maybe more than that. The thing that we maintain is that what makes this film so excellent is the utter conviction with which it is executed. There is no self-doubt in this movie, and I'm not saying that self-doubt is a thing that is evident to see in films, but the raw confidence of J.J. Abrams while making this movie, he understands, he loves this film, he loves his script he's got, he loves these characters, and he goes hard at it. Not only do I not have a problem with saying that this is easily the best looking Star Wars film ever made, and the cinematography and visual effects, the production design, all of that, the makeup as well, is just some of the best we have ever seen in films ever. I mean, honestly, the effects work in this movie, there's not a single point I look at this and go, that doesn't look real. And that is what you want from visual effects. The incredible work that has gone into making every aspect of this movie is incredible. But the thing here is that you've got a film where all these people have come back, like you've said, and you feel that everyone believed in this story being told. It doesn't matter that we've got stuff like Starkiller Base, which is something that we're iffy on, and there's, you know, there's definite things that resemble stuff from the original film. They've built on that as a backbone for structuring a film that they know people are going to like. Imagine if they'd gone ahead and made a completely new film at the start and it hadn't worked. It's better that they played it safe while still expanding with a lot of brilliant new ideas that we're going to talk about in a second, than do something completely different and it go wrong, and I guarantee Star Wars films would have died at that point. They did the right thing.
And you talked about the balls this film had, but my god, did it have gigantic balls. I mean, our opening scene with Ray, our new lead character, she didn't talk, she didn't speak for about 5 minutes.
No dialogue for 5 minutes.
That just doesn't happen in blockbusters anymore, and that is ballsy, and it worked. And now Daisy Ridley cops a lot of flack from a lot of people who quite simply don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry, but her performance here is actually fantastic. I mean, she glows on camera, and she has a nature about her that is incredibly curious. And do you think that all the choices that she made while she was acting, she did by herself? No. She had J.J. Abrams behind her. She had Kathleen Kennedy behind her.
She had the script.
She had all these elements at play behind her, which created a performance for her that was incredibly curious and engrossed in the world around her. Much like the audience was. We were feeling curious as well about this new world and where it was going to go, and much like Ray, she was there along for the ride.
We're seeing it through her eyes, and that is a brilliant, brilliant characterization. We're going to see her expand in the next couple of films. But what we've got here is a film who we are seeing the world in a place where this character has not experienced the world either. As soon as you make a character like that in any given scenario, you adhere to them way more because you are experiencing the world as they see it. The other thing about Ray that I think really, really works is that she's a character who believes she can do everything. She can't do everything, but she believes that she can. And part of her journey in this movie is realizing that she cannot be on her own. She needs other people, and that's why part of that opening is so brilliant, is because we get to see this transition from someone who is a complete loner with no one to connect with, to a feeling of actually having some form of family by the end of the film, and her realizing that that is not only, it doesn't matter what form that family comes in, but that is what she needs, and she needs people to connect with, she needs friends. I think that is just genius. And Ray is not the only great character here. I think there's a new character here that is even better.
I'm easy like Sunday morning.
If we are being completely transparent with this, we do honestly think that Kylo Ren is perhaps the greatest blockbuster villain in, well, probably this decade. People loathe Kylo Ren. And I think people are misunderstanding the fact that in this modern day and age with blockbusters that we're actually supposed to like villains. They're meant to be charismatic, they're meant to be funny, they're meant to be engaging, they're meant to be witty. Kylo Ren is not that. He is a nasty human being who is struggling with good feelings. I mean, that on its own is just insanely genius. He's juggling with a compulsion to be a good person because he wants to be horrible. He wants to be filled with hate, and he wants to be a tyrannical figure. He's actually the best embodiment of the dark side we have seen in the Star Wars films so far. He's a whiny brat who is spoilt, and he's a terrible human being. And seeing where that arc goes across this series is going to be a fantastic thing to see. And Adam Driver, what he is able to achieve with this role, I mean, I am still stunned by, because it is a very, very fine line he is walking here, and we think he plays it brilliantly.
And you know what? It reminds me of someone else. Anakin. Because like Anakin's character is so similar in so many goddamn ways, but he doesn't work. He didn't work because he was there the whole time telling us how much hate he had, how evil he felt, and how angry he was the whole time. But if the audience is being told that and not shown that, then we're not going to believe it. And here we have someone like Kylo, we just see it and we believe it. And that is just, I mean, they succeeded. Other new characters pop up here and they are very memorable, but of course we have Finn and Poe that come along with a great masterful relationship that is just banter-filled and so much fun, and really great to see in the Star Wars universe, something we haven't kind of really seen before.
You kind of end up with this really quickly developed buddy dynamic that is completely believable and endearing. And part of that is because Poe's introduction scene, which is also paired with Kylo Ren's introduction scene, is so fantastically done. And thank you to Oscar Isaac for bringing a very, very Harrison Ford charisma to this new character. But also Finn's character with this crisis of conscience that kind of spurs his character into action. He's someone who's trying to find the balls to stand up and do what he thinks is right, even when his fear outweighs that. I find his character incredibly endearing, and I cannot wait to see where he goes next.
Now, out of the returning characters, I think the one we can only really talk about is Harrison Ford here, because Carrie Fisher popped up, but of course she won't really play a main role until The Last Jedi, and that's the same with Mark Hamill, so it's kind of hard to talk about them. But Harrison Ford here was fantastic. He gave it his all, and he really was just, you could see he was passionate about this film, and he really cared about sending off his character in a really good way.
It really, really felt like Han Solo 30 years later. It was still the same person we know doing the exact same thing. And that's why it works, because Han was always that character. He learnt his lessons about himself in that original trilogy, but there was always those elements of Han where you just know he's going to keep on being the same kind of lovable scumbag character. And he really, really delivered that. I think you can say what you want about adding kind of the whole son dynamic, the family dynamic. I think the family dynamic works particularly with Leia, but I think what they did with his character and Kylo, I just have so much respect for them doing that. And continuing with the strongest element of this film, perhaps overall, the undeniable element, is John Williams' score.
Yeah.
I am happy to say that this is the best Star Wars score overall, I think, because he was able to introduce these incredible new themes and make them iconic within the space that they were first heard. There was not a single piece of music in this that I did not find as the credits rolled at the end of the film, which we sat through, which goes through every single individual theme. There was not a single one of those I did not want to get up and cheer for. The music not only works incredibly in each scene and is incredibly involving in a very, very suitable way considering the way JJ has directed the film, but each piece on its own is already iconic. I can already recognize Kylo's theme, I could recognize Rey's theme, I can recognize the new Resistance theme, and that is incredible, incredible film scoring.
And I think at the end of the day, this film, more than anything else, just gave me so much respect for J.J. Abrams because it hit the ground running. I mean, the speed of this film is just ridiculous. It does not stop once it starts. And I think that's why over time people have kind of found more problems with it because it doesn't really give you a chance to even think about anything whilst you're watching it. It's just this overflow of emotions and visuals, and films like that just don't happen anymore these days.
And that's really what we're focusing on with this movie when we're talking about conviction like we did at the start. This movie is just what happens when people truly believe in what they are making in every single way. That belief cannot cover up the little flaws that this movie does have and the certain things that we cannot avoid recognizing. But what we are given overall is a film that I feel like really matters, where all these little ideas handled by the movie, all these relationships built, it just creates a world that feels actually tangible, like the events of the movie actually matter. And that is why I feel people have really grabbed onto this movie. It has endearing characters that are given so much room to grow. It's a movie that really feels like it's rebooting, but at the same time it's actually part of a 3-part series that you cannot collect all of until we have seen the entire thing. The Force Awakens is just a stunning achievement, and I don't think we can see it as anything other than that. It is completely fine if you don't like the movie. That is completely cool. But I think there needs to be a level of respect for what was done here, the level of technical mastery going on. Some of the decisions you may not like, but every single decision in this film was made from a place of sincerity and heart, and that translates onto the screen in so many ways. We really, really think that this is a beautiful movie. It is one of the best Star Wars movies, and there's a reason why we have continued to watch it over and over since it has been released, and I think it's because it just feels like a movie that really matters.
So if we're now to give this film a score, we'd probably settle on around about a 9.2. I mean, film scores are always going to change over time, but that's where we sit. It really shouldn't matter because it's what we have to say about this film. It's just something else.
And I mean, our enjoyment is probably at maximum. But there is still there's a regard for the fact that this movie is not perfect. But I really think the score doesn't matter in the end, because after saying all that we've said about it, I think that really should just speak for itself. So that was our re-review of The Force Awakens. Have you seen it yet?
Did you like it?
Did you hate it?
Did you like this video?
Of course you did.
More banter.
If so, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel down there somewhere.
And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, all at Breaking Banter.
And at Patreon, because we got one of those, so you can do that.